And the Oscar goes to...
Ranking Andrew Garfield's films.
Muchas gracias, afición. Este para vosotros.
Right then, welcome back everyone. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a slightly less well-known film of Andrew's, Under the Silver Lake. Now this is quite a divisive film amongst critics, and it's got a lot of different things going on at once. However, it's a film that gives you a lot to think about as it explores the elite societies and the seedy underbelly of Los Angeles. There's murder, mystery, conspiracy, and even a secret code hidden throughout the entire film that's yet to be solved to this day. This film is completely jam-packed with secrets, Easter eggs and hidden references I guarantee that you'll need at least 2 or 3 watches to catch. So, if you enjoy films where there's a lot more than meets the eye, and where you can get completely wrapped up and forget the outside world, then this is the film for you. The plot of the film centres around... oh god, what's his name? I think it's... nah, that doesn't seem right. Close, but... oh, it's Sam. No, Sam, that's it. Sam is a disenchanted young man who is seemingly wandering through life, having not really achieved anything. He meets a mysterious and attractive young woman, Sarah, at his apartment complex, whom he befriends and forms a connection with. However, when he goes to visit her the following morning, she's mysteriously disappeared. This sends Sam on a surreal quest across Los Angeles to try and uncover the secret of her disappearance. This is the outline of the main story, and from first glance you're probably thinking, that doesn't seem anything out of the ordinary. However, once you start watching, you'll quickly realise this film is anything but ordinary. Something you'll immediately notice about this film, and really what sets it apart, is its multiple subplots that really seem to go nowhere. For example, the incomprehensible words spoken by the neighbour's bird over and over. The murder of the weird face mask guy and the owl's kiss. The entire songwriter scene, which is such an interesting scene, and there's so much going on and so much being alluded to that really it could warrant a whole video itself. The identity of the dog killer, which actually I'll discuss later on, and many, many more. During my first watch of this film, I found these to be quite disorientating and a bit jarring. However, after watching the film again, I think the point of them is that there is no point.
Dude, you are so deep. The point is that there's no point?
What the fuck was I thinking when I recorded that? Jesus. I think Robert David Mitchell, the director, is trying to highlight the pointlessness of everyday life and how in a second we're willing to drop everything in our own lives just like that and focus all our time on other people's lives, like for example spending every waking moment searching for a girl we barely know. This whole theme of pointlessness is really summed up with the big reveal at the end, where we learn, spoiler alert, that Sarah is actually buried deep underneath the city in an underground bunker, along with Jefferson Sevens and 2 other girls. Sevens is a billionaire that has been on the news throughout the film due to his disappearance. He's part of an elite society that believe that burying themselves underground in these bunkers will allow them to ascend into essentially rich person's heaven.
Are you talking about heaven?
No, I'm talking about something exclusive.
Seems pretty likely, to be fair.
And the worst part is that Sarah chose to be there and has no desire to get out. So basically the entire film and Sam's quest was in fact a complete waste of time, and all that time spent searching for her was pointless. Another key aspect of this film is codes and hidden messages, specifically in pop culture. The first thing we see is a code. Pictures of a unicorn, a tiger, a snake and a lion flash up, whose first letters spell out UTSL, or Under the Silver Lake. We see another code on one of the customers' t-shirts, and Morse code at the bottom of the coffee menu. There's a copial cipher graffitied on the walls in the city, a Zodiac killer-like cipher in front of the dolls in Sarah's room, E equals EE on the large billboard of the girl, who we later find out is Sam's ex-girlfriend, and finally the key to all the ciphers in the weird mask guy's secret room in his house. Now I'm not going to go into how these are actually solved, and there's a dedicated Reddit page if you are interested, but eventually they lead you to a website, What 3 Words, the logo of which coincidentally, or more likely not so, is the hobo symbol for "This is not a safe place," which we encounter later in the film. What 3 Words is a website that maps the entire world into squares and defines each square with 3 particular words. Now unfortunately, this is where the trail runs cold. No one knows what 3 words you need, nor what they might mean. Maybe there is no next step, and yet is another pointless wild goose chase. Or maybe someone will crack it one day. Either way, it's pretty cool how they hide all these interconnected clues right under our noses throughout the film with everything else that's going on.
Cheers, Jeff.
The codes also play a significant role in the plot. We learn from Sam's friend Alan and later on from the songwriter that there are secret messages being hidden throughout pop culture, specifically in the song Turning Teeth by Jesus and the Bride of Dracula, a band in the film. Through borderline nonsensical logic, Sam uncovers a message in the song, "Rub Dean's head, wait under Newton." After working out this corresponds to the statue of James Dean and Isaac Newton at the observatory in LA, Sam meets the homeless king and he leads him to another one of the burial tombs that I previously discussed. He also discovers a hidden location in the Hollywood Hills through equally nonsensical logic by using a map in a 30-year-old cereal box and lining it up with a particular magazine he just happens to have in his house. This location ends up being where he finds the members of the cult that explain to him Sarah's fate. The frankly ridiculous methods Sam uses to uncover these mysteries is a large piece of evidence for one of the main theories about this film, that the majority of the film takes place in Sam's head. This would explain how Sam miraculously manages to decipher these hidden messages, with everything he needs being conveniently in his apartment already. Additionally, his car always seems to be parked 5 meters away from wherever he ends up wandering off to. There are also multiple dream sequences / hallucinations in the film that Sam experiences. For example, the monstrified image of Sarah eating the dead dog, or the group of women he sees barking at him in the toilets.
I don't know. I think that's a bit dodgy, mate.
This bizarre barking is a recurring theme in his dreams and something I'll discuss later. There's also the scene where Jefferson Sevence's daughter, that's a mouthful, Jefferson Sevence's daughter, Millicent, and Sam are swimming in the reservoir. Millicent is shot by an unknown assailant, and as she sinks to her death, she perfectly mimics the pose of the model in his favourite Playboy issue. These scenes highlight Sam's mental instability and vivid imagination, which in turn does beg the question, could he be imagining it all? Furthermore, we do know Sam is a bit of a loser who hasn't really found his purpose in life, and from what we see, doesn't intend on it. Therefore, the case could be made that Sam is inventing all these conspiracies and hidden messages in order to give his life some meaning and something to work towards. As Topher Grace's character says in the film,
"We crave mystery because there's none left."
Before I began making this video, I was completely against this theory, but now after laying out all the evidence as I have done here, I'm kinda no longer sure. I'm really struggling to come up with an alternative solution, so if you have one, please let me know in the comments. Something else that needs to be discussed when talking about this film is Sam's character. Sam is sex-crazed, pervy, mentally unstable, violent, who constantly lies to his friends and family, and yet he feels incredibly relatable. His nihilistic, apathetic attitude towards all aspects of his life really does hit slightly too close to home, especially for me. Wouldn't we all just love to forget about our responsibilities like rent and having a job, and just spend our days doing nothing, while occasionally getting wrapped up in the odd conspiracy or two? That being said though, he is still all those other things, and on the whole a pretty terrible person. The sex scene at the beginning with his, I'm assuming, girlfriend is devoid of all emotion, and it's clear he's in the relationship purely for sex. Continuing this theme, we see him creeping on Sarah dancing around the pool in a bikini through his binoculars.
Look, I'm going now.
Pedo! You fucking pedo!
And later he follows a girl all the way through the city as he's almost hypnotised by her bum. When Sam does eventually meet Sarah, he goes into her apartment and they hit it off. However, before Sam can add her to his hit list, her roommates return home and he has to leave. Now I believe this is part of the reason Sam becomes so transfixed on her and finding her when she goes missing. She's the one that got away, so to speak, but not in the charming, forlorn lover sort of way, but in the rejected nymphomaniac sort of way. He wants to find her as she's the only girl he hasn't managed to sleep with that he wanted to. That's not all though. Okay. Sam shamelessly lies to his mother and friend about his job that he doesn't have and his car that's been repossessed but claims is in the shop. His violent, aggressive tendencies become clear after he witnesses a group of young kids defacing his and multiple other cars down a street and proceeds to violently assault them without any hesitation.
Look at Randy Orton slithering.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
KO! Here's the cover. Hook of the line. And the legend killer picks up the victory.
What the hell, man?
He also savagely beats Jesus, the lead singer of Jesus and the Bride of Dracula, in order to ascertain information about who wrote his song Turning Teeth. Bear in mind though that Sam's only reasoning behind doing this is that he cracked that hidden code I mentioned earlier. clearly these aren't the actions of a stable individual, and this, along with some key moments and pieces of dialogue I'll go on to discuss, lead us to the most popular theory about this film, that Sam is the dog killer. Now just hear me out, okay? Okay. There's a surprising amount of evidence to support this theory. The first of which is the very first shot we get of the film, where we see "Beware the dog killer" painted onto the window of the coffee shop. As we see the camera pan around, we see Sam looking at it, and as he turns his head, you can just see the faintest smirk creep onto his face. Now I know this isn't proof of anything, but stay with me. There's also the scene where we get the bird's eye view shot of the "Beware the dog killer" graffiti on the floor, and Sam's shadow is the only one overlapping the words, seemingly hinting at his true identity. He's also completely unfazed by the actions of the dog killer, as he ignores all the posters and memorials, and when his friend is talking to him about it, rather graphically, he's more interested in tearing up a little piece of paper he's got in his hands. We also have the really strange barking scenes that I mentioned before. It seems as if Sam has some sort of association between confrontation or maybe rejection from women and dogs. He conflates these negative emotions with dogs and so takes them out on dogs. Maybe. And finally, he seems to produce dog treats out of thin air, or more plausibly, is always carrying around dog treats with him. We see this when he first meets Sarah's dog, and then at the end, when the homeless king has him tied to a chair, he angrily asks him,
Why do you have dog biscuits in your pocket?
To which Sam replies,
I was waiting for her to take me back. I wanted to give the dog a treat and rub its ears. Just the way I used to, and then everything would be good again.
Now I know a lot of people believe that this is finally Sam being honest with us and coming clean, and I sort of agree to an extent, but not really. I think that Sam truly does believe this in his head, but in reality, I think this trauma he's gone through with his girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, is manifesting itself through these dog killings, and Sam's just trying to justify it to himself by saying he keeps the treats as a reminder of his past relationship.
What?
Or maybe I'm wrong, and Sam's just lying through his teeth, trying to stay alive. This film is about desperately trying to find deeper meaning in life and obsessing over tiny details when in reality, there probably isn't one, and searching for it is pointless. It begs the question, would it even matter in the end? We're better off just doing what we enjoy and not wasting any of the time we have worrying about things we can't control. Every time Sam delves deeper and tries to find out more, he only falls further down the rabbit hole. I think Sam realises this in the end, and for the first time he seems content. Or more likely I'm overthinking this all massively and I should probably go outside and touch some grass, right? Probably the latter. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Bye bye.